like, what would you say your main goal for educators is in your trainings? Like, even before the training, when you're like, oh, today's going to be awesome because, why do you?
I think what's important for me when doing this work is that the people who we're talking to or we're working with understand that restorative practices is about relationships, right? Building community. That it isn't something that is new. It's not something that is just going to come by and then leave. It's something that, it's kind of like a way of being. And it's a sharing of knowledge, sharing information about how to work together as educators, as community members, as, staff members, and to provide a service for youth and their families. So we're service providers. And if we as adults are able to model a positive school climate or a positive, relationship amongst ourselves, then the youth will be able to understand that. So more than anything for me is just building relationships with the adults so we can model, for the students. The framework and the content and the history and all that stuff, it's part of the education piece. But more than anything for me is that the adults continue to have positive relationships amongst themselves and model those relationships in whatever, educational setting they're in. Yeah, and also, and honor where this work comes from. Honor the work that, is something that has been part of this world for many, many generations, and it pays tribute, honor the indigenous, history of it and how it relates to all, that we're all connected through this work. It's not necessarily something that belongs to someone, but it's something that we can all, continue to practice so we can understand how to have better relationships amongst ourselves.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just writing some notes to kind of remember what you're saying too. So what I'm hearing is that it's almost like two main goals. One is the relationships and the community building and modeling that with educators so that they know how to do it with students, that's really the heart of it. And also, second piece is honoring where this work comes from and the indigenous ways and, just making all of those connections and making it really a beautiful, honoring experience for everyone. And was that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And so how do you make sure that those two goals happen?
I know. Let me think. Yeah. So,
like, what do you do in the trainings to support, modeling relationship building? Like, maybe one example of each. Like, so what do you do to model relationship building, and what do you do to make sure that the roots of this work are honored?
That's a great question. For me, my personal experience has come from both the education, world, and then also my personal experience of doing this work. So, I guess for me it's almost a way of being, right? So if I'm gonna be an educator and try to work with adults and students in restorative practices, and I myself have to be restorative too, right? Or learn or understand what restorative means. So it's not just me applying this work in the educational world, but also applying it in my own life. So participating in trainings, taking care of myself emotionally, spiritually, being able to surround myself with people who are also doing this work in other areas, and have a connection, have a collaborative, and continue learning, learning as a staff member, as an educator, and learning as a community member. And I think, again, it goes back to honoring the work, honoring how we are both the student and the teacher, right? When it comes to doing restorative practices, it's not just, creating a framework and doing circles and creating conferences and doing action plan. Is more than that, is be able to understand the history of the work and also being able to implement in your own life, which is one of the most difficult things to do. Being able to keep the sacredness of it all. And more than anything, I think is protecting the work, protecting that it remains alive, protecting that that it continues to be influential to youth and the educators. I feel that educators are, they have the training, right? They have the skills, they have the resources to come into the classroom and provide a service to youth. But a lot of youth that we work with may not have those resources, may have the ability to, to have a good educational experience. So I think as adults, if we continue to work with each other and learning more about restorative practices, then we can, bring it to the classroom. It's kind of I don't know, it could be a difficult question to answer, because a lot of this work has really helped me in being a better person in many areas of my life, like being a better father, being a better husband. So I don't see it as something that I can bring to the education world. It's more like I try to practice this as much as I can in every aspect of my life. So for me, it's important that my children have a good educational experience, that they're not being punished, and that because I am a person of color, that they don't go through the, school to prison pipeline, that they understand that they're going to be treated different just because of the color of the skin or where they come from. So, it goes beyond just the classroom. It's about me really being an advocate for all, right? For all youth that I work with, including my own children.
Okay.
Because they are going to be faced with things that are real in this world right now. Because of, the way they're being judged or the way they're being treated, or, all those things that happened recently.
Okay.
Let me think more about this too.
No, yeah, and it might come up throughout the rest of the questions, because there's at least 10 more.
Yeah. So it's almost, I have to honor myself, and I have to honor the work, and I have to respect, that I also make mistakes, and that a lot of this work is continue to grow as a person for myself. That it's not perfect, but at least if I have an understanding, a personal understanding of how I can apply this for myself first and really understand it, then I can do a better job and bringing it to, to education.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, that sounds good. I'm going to take a little bit of a turn here. And maybe ask, this might be an easy question, because a lot of times there are challenges that come up with things, but and you can think about this for a few minutes. I actually just have to go.
Yeah.
And she's crying, and she just needs someone with her, but I forgot to give them her binky, which she just started liking, so I feel like in this moment. But
be a mama.
So what main challenges come up in your trainings? But tell me by giving an example of the challenge. So just kind of think about what was a time when you felt a little anxiety, or you're like, oh God, I don't know what to do in this moment in the middle of a training. What kind of challenges came up? And then how did you address those challenges? Because that's the heart of it, right? Like, these educators are struggling. It might even feel like we're we're at odds with the educators sometimes.